So, Adrian, what level will we be talking about this morning?
This morning we'll be talking about Stage 5.
Alright.
Once you exit the other end of the whale, it's just out in the open seas. A little more stormy though this time. Just a quick overview of what you're going to be seeing in the stage. You're going to be seeing more of those balloon fight birds, which you did previously encounter in the third stage. You're going to see more of the regular birds, the crabs that were also on Stage 3. But what you'll also be seeing more of are these rainy clouds, which will try to push you down into the ocean, along with these sparks just floating out in the open air, which is more what the regular balloon trip mode is like. And these are insta-kill, by the way.
Yeah, so it's like a revisit to Stage 3 with the introduction of rain and lightning.
Yeah, and a couple less platforms. No islanders to greet you on them.
Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. Coming out of the whale, you get your first introduction with the rain cloud that cannot kill you because it is raining on an island. So, there's your sort of safe introduction there. So even if it pulls you near the bottom, you still have momentum, you don't land on an island, you can mash the button hard enough to get yourself back up. So you have this much wider rain cloud coming up next, and you have to go high in order to actually get that balloon up there. You also have to fall down and get this balloon which a bird is circling. And because of the way the rain pushes you down, I find it's actually kind of easy to either ram into the bird and fall back or have it actually pop one of your balloons. When that happens, you can ruin your chances for getting the remaining balloons. Thankfully, there's an island following it that allows you to refill. So you fly up in just the right way to be high enough to go down with the rain cloud to not undershoot the balloons following it in the sky. The balloons are placed in such a way that they'll always go downward with the rain so that you can actually get them all.
You need to hammer that flat button to get them.
Yeah.
I found that the rain clouds, being a constant source of motion, were quite refreshing. They're different from all the other enemies. Like, they just affect how you move through the environment, as opposed to, actually, all the enemies do that, don't they? In a sense, by virtue of them filling space. But the rain pushes you through the environment, and it's sort of similar to how a regular platformer would work on land when you've got a conveyor belt. So I thought that it added the interesting wrinkle to the gameplay.
It's a unique state that you don't see in any other stage. Can you explain how the lightning works?
So the way the lightning works is that once you get near one of those clouds, it'll shoot a spark at your position. It's limited to 45 degrees. This spark can rebound off the edges of the screen or the camera and the ground. If it goes into the ocean, it does not rebound. That is the rule.
So that's some pretty nasty suspension where the screen's moving fast, so typically enemies scroll off screen that much faster, except for this lightning spark, which bounces off of the screen itself and keeps up with you.
That's why that one section where there's the giant rain cloud probably took most of my deaths in this level going through it the first time, just because of that setup with it, the rain cloud, and the balloon fight bird that was in the way.
Yeah, that's a very particular setup.
And the
Yes.
bumper underneath the spring isn't consistent enough to really help you navigate the area from underneath.
Yeah, I have never tried landing on that thing.
I gotta wonder who is that helping? If you hit that half the time, you're gonna die anyway. Or, I mean, probably more than half.
They're only used twice in level, and I don't think you see these ever again. You just see a variation of them with the light bulbs in Stage 8. So you get your introduction and then immediately your sort of climax with that level element. Yeah, following that section, now you get to your instant death sparks, and you won't see these again until stage 8. The difference though is that these are the time you see them at this speed though. So you're moving pretty fast with these instant death sparks. And looking at the way the balloons are set up, so these first 2 balloons that you see with that sort of diagonal moving set of sparks, not too hard to deal with. It's the one that's up higher, the second one that's up higher, that's next to that sharper down moving one. That's kind of where you're probably going to want to move forward and then hang back so you can gently float down and not get hit. And then you'll get your P balloon, and then you can, rampage through the level with your invincibility. So, this next section where now you have the invincibility, the main concern is really just the rainy clouds, and you already know how to deal with those.
Initially, actually, I forgot that there's the invincibility just before this section, so I thought, oh, this was like a pretty tricky challenge. But yeah, if you got the invincibility star, then that'll make things a lot easier.
In this stage, I definitely miss the P balloon quite often.
Yeah, it's because the P balloon is usually hanging back more towards the right in the middle of that the first spark section. That's why it's so easy to miss. Because in that section, the main one is definitely when you go through that second wider rain cloud, because it pulls you down like into where the albatross are going, so it's easy to just ram into them.
The 2 birds hanging out at the bottom, I found are helpful. Like, there have been plenty of runs where I didn't plan my trajectory carefully enough trying to grab that bottom balloon, and then Alice, luckily, bounces up from hitting the birds. So that's a weird instance where the enemies are helping you out.
Yeah. And from then on, it's just getting high enough so that you can go through the rain cloud over them, and then dealing with the balloon fight bird that's also doing the same thing. He's trying to get in the way of you being high, so just get him out of there and then go through as usual. So these remaining 2 sections both contain these instant death sparks. This time though, they move.
How would you describe how the balloons are used with the sparks?
A lot of them involve you moving between them, oftentimes getting fairly close to them, especially in the second section. And here is where they layer the up and down spark with the rainy cloud, and that's how it finishes off the level.
What would you say is the theme of the level?
Definitely those rain clouds covering a large space, so pushing you to move forwards more, that for sure. And along with the stricter gameplay setup of the sparks, so you can't just bump into things like you normally could with the enemies in the other stages. In this one, it's just like, don't touch anything, which is usually not the case in the other stages where it's more forgiving, where you can sort of just bounce around, although there's danger to be had when that's going on.
Right.
But here it's just more strict, like, no, don't touch anything. And that sort of sets the theme in this one. This is actually probably the stage that resembles Balloon Trip the most, which is the faster scrolling speed, the instant death sparks.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having us.